I'm ready.
Okay. So relax. And
let's talk about the brain. What's up, friends, and welcome back to Friends with Matt. Today we're going to be looking at brain mapping and neurofeedback. I've spent the last month going to a place called Zion Healing where I've been getting neurofeedback therapy, doing multiple sessions a week, and recording every session so that I can make this video and share with you what it's like to go through this process. Is it a harmless scientific tool? A cutting-edge form of technology? Or something deeper? Something they don't want us asking questions about? Brain mapping and neurofeedback. These two things sound like super high-tech, mildly sci-fi, and something you'd order at 3 a.m. off Amazon. But what are they really? Okay, let's start with brain mapping. What even is brain mapping?
You ever heard of a brain map?
Basically, what we're doing is looking at our brain and calming our nervous system down.
Now pay attention to what this lady's about to say because it's the reason brain mapping and neurofeedback therapy are so controversial. And if you miss it, don't worry, we'll get back to this topic later in the video.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So we're able to look at what we call causality, what the root cause of things is instead of symptomology, and change the root cause instead of just band-aiding it with medicine.
Right.
Instead of just band-aiding it with medicine.
Right. First of all, let me give you a stereotypical disclaimer so that I can say whatever I want without getting in trouble. I am not a doctor. I am not a professional. So please seek professional help if you're going to make any changes in your life or pursue any form of therapy. I'm not the guy that should be telling you what to do with your body. However, I do have experience with psychiatrists and using psychiatric meds, and I also now have experience with brain mapping and neurofeedback therapy. So what I am qualified to do is share with you my honest experience, and that's what I want to do in this video. Now, what you do with my experience is up to you. I'm just saying, please seek professional advice for any big decisions you're going to make in your life. But with that being said, let's get into the video. So we're at Zion Healing. I'm pretty sure this is the place right here. Hello?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, what's going on?
Good, man.
That's Farhan. He's a neurofeedback therapy expert, and he'll be guiding me through this process.
Because I want to prove to the people right here that neurofeedback is the future. I want each one of you to know there's nothing wrong with you. You just have a situation right here that you need more help with. That's it.
And then by doing this work, you're gonna like pay attention to the brain and like watch the brain physically heal from doing this emotional work. Let's go. Brain mapping. It's also called quantitative EEG.
QEEG brain scans look directly at the electrical activity of the brain.
Your brain sends electrical signals all the time.
Everything we think, do, and feel is the result of the activity of the billions of neurons in our brain.
In neurofeedback, there are sensors that are reading the waves as they happen in real time and reward your brain when it produces healthier patterns.
We use QEEG brain scans to pinpoint the areas in the brain that are not working properly, to develop effective treatment programs, and to map our patients' progress.
So in lifetime, they have a way to reward your brain through games that you're playing on a screen so that when your brain's a little too active over here, they can reward you over here, kind of. That's not the best way to say it, but they can do things to trigger more activity over here in lifetime. So you're watching your brain in lifetime. And the reason I'm going like this is because I saw a 3D model of the way the brain works, and like that's what it looks like with all the electrical activity.
Look at that. That's the part of the brain that's actually a lot of the front. There's a lot of hyperactivity in the front. And based on the EEG, when you actually see the recording, you'll see that your front ones right here were very, very active, because you're over focusing on things, right?
Imagine Google Maps, but it's like in lifetime and you're watching all the traffic. Okay, that's what brain mapping is like, except instead of watching traffic, we're watching the neural rush hour in your brain.
I'm actually going to show you your brain. So we know there's a brain out there. There's no question about that one. We know that's there, right? But you can see right here, the red parts right here. Why is it showing such a different frequency?
Why is it showing such a different frequency?
Well, once we have the map of your brain's electrical activity, neurofeedback therapy will use that map to create a personalized therapy procedure plan specially just for you to help you deal with your brain's issues.
Patients meet with a coach 3 times per week for treatment specifically tailored to their brain.
So imagine like with traffic, there's a satellite up there and there's a guy and his job is to constantly be contacting all the cars in your city to let them know where the traffic is already too clogged, letting the cars know ahead of time so that they can take other routes. And as that guy in the satellite is getting better at rerouting all the cars so that there's as little traffic as possible, over time what'll happen is the city will have a lot less traffic. It'll be less clogged in some areas and then a little bit more flowing in places where maybe people didn't realize they could take this other route. That's not the best metaphor, but it is a metaphor. And what I'm trying to do is paint this picture to you where your brain might be too active in certain areas and not active enough in other areas. And what brain mapping does is first identifies where your brain is overthinking or underusing its abilities. And then the neurofeedback therapy is a specialized plan just for you. And we're going to get into how they do this, but basically they're giving you a therapy treatment that is triggering those spots that are not active enough, and then incentivizing your brain to not work so hard in the places where it is working too hard.
Like as I said, we're not going to put anything inside you. We're not giving any medication. We're not injecting anything. We're not giving any shock waves, none of that stuff. Basically what we're doing is on a 1 to 45 hertz right here, we are going to put the helmet on your head and we're going to just capture the information in your brain to see how it's working and the information that's already there, and figure out which part of your brain is overactive or underactive. And based on that, we are going to figure out what is the protocols that's causing those issues, which can help you to re-heal on its own.
So basically, you sit in front of a screen and your brain waves are being monitored in real time while you're sort of playing a game on the screen, and that game is actually changing itself in live time based on your brainwaves activity, so that the game can like give you little dopamine releases in the right spots and areas to help the traffic of your brain flow smoother. Again, this is just a metaphor with all the traffic stuff. Let's go over a quick history lesson. In the 1960s, researchers like Dr. Joe Kamya and Dr. Barry Sturman discovered that people and cats could control their brain waves. The implications of this discovery could be catastrophically awesome. But what if I told you your brain might be behaving in ways that are undesirable, in real, like a twitch or something, in areas you're not so focused on or aware that you can even control? And what if I told you that you could learn to control those parts of your brain? Or if not even be able to control it, there's a therapy that can like fix a twitch. You know what I mean? Well, maybe you don't, because I don't know if therapy fixes people's physical twitches. But what if I told you there's a treatment that can help you fix your brainwave twitches and glitches, and you won't need stitches?
Look at the difference in just 3 treatments right here. Your brain is already calming down, you're sleeping better, and your scores are starting to get closer to 1.0. And we've only done 3 treatments right here. So going forward right here, I mean, by the time you finish your 24 treatments, you're going to be like a new man.
So yeah, in the 1960s, scientists trained cats to control their brainwave activity, which is really impressive because cats don't even listen to the laws of gravity. And now here's where things get controversial. So, does all of this actually work?
It was even difficult to leave my apartment. It was hard for me to go to class at the time or just like go out and meet people.
Vicky tried medications for anxiety, but says she felt she wasn't getting to the root of the problem. Then she heard about neurofeedback.
Neurofeedback has fans and it has some critics.
Neurofeedback feels like the hot new kid on the block when it comes to treating childhood trauma. Anyway, after the session, I had terrible symptoms.
Supporters say they like it because it helps with ADHD, anxiety, depression. It's non-invasive, meaning you're not having to take drugs that invade your brain. And there's evidence that shows real improvement. And I mean, literally for you, you'll get your own evidence about your own brain. Like they actually have the numbers and the charts and the brainwaves, like ways to show you that the therapy is changing the way your brain works.
Yeah, 1.9 to 1.6, almost minus 0.3. So you're actually doing very, very well. And what that's going to do is, it is going to work right here. You already told me that you are already sleeping better. You already told me that. Second thing is, you feel calmer. That is the sign right here that you are not stressed anymore. That's what you asked me for. Third thing you said right here, okay, you know, Farhan, I need something with my focus. So I want to ask you, after these 3 treatments that we have done so far, what do you see the difference when it comes to your focus right now?
I see a big difference in sleep and calm. I don't see a difference in focus yet.
Right here, because like I said, we're in the very beginning. We still have to train it. So this is something right here that today, that's why we switched the game. So now this is going to force you to focus on things. What that means is right here that when I'm forcing you to actually focus on the Pac-Man and things that he's doing wrong, so your mind is a lot sharper, catching things that why is he doing the certain things that he's doing. That's not right. That he should be doing this. He should be doing this.
And if you're anything like me, you're probably wondering, is neurofeedback therapy just a matter of playing video games? Because I can play video games at home. But let me tell you, this is absolutely not a regular game, because the gameplay is changing based on your brainwaves activity so that it can specifically change the way your brainwaves go through your brain. And that's why neurofeedback therapy is my new favorite way of dealing with anxiety and fear, because it's specifically tailored just for me. However, what the critics argue is whether or not the stuff that's changing in your brain is actually going to help you with your anxiety or depression or ADHD. And there's people out there that claim a lot of the research is bogus. Another way to criticize neurofeedback is it's very expensive right now, and it's not easy to get it covered by insurance. So a lot of times treatments could be like $4,000 to $6,000. And the critics will also mention that they think a lot of the people who have shown real improvement with neurofeedback therapy are just suffering from the placebo effect. And so the whole neurofeedback thing right now in the modern media, it's almost like the do you like pineapple on your pizza argument. People either love it or they hate it. Like people either say this is the next thing, it's going to change the world, or there's doubters out there that say it's all a bunch of BS.
Neurofeedback feels like the hot new kid on the block when it comes to treating childhood trauma, but it didn't work for me.
Real quick, I want to go back to this guy because he did not have a good experience with neurofeedback therapy. And as your YouTuber, I want to make sure you hear both sides of the story whenever I'm going over something like this.
And it was the second session where the issues began. She tried new frequencies, I believe lower frequencies than we'd done before. And in the session, I started to get a bit of a headache, and I reported this back, and she kind of tweaked and went back and forth. Anyway, after the session, I had terrible symptoms.
And I'll tell you right now, I am biased because I had a good experience with neurofeedback therapy. So what I have to say is positive, and I've heard other people say good things too. However, there are stories like this guy where things seem to get worse for him.
You know, I think the issue is that they just do not have the technology at the moment to make it a safe treatment for everyone.
And I want to tell you right now, I see reasons as to why he had a bad experience. I don't think it was simply because neurofeedback therapy doesn't work for him. You'll hear in his story, it sounds like the clinical practitioner that was running his procedures didn't do a good job and didn't do him justice.
So I explained this to the practitioner, and basically she came back and said, all we need to do is put you at the previous session 1 frequency, and that will resolve things. And so I had another session, no change. I had a final session where they tried something else, so the 4th session, no change.
It sounds like whoever was doing the therapy for him was just trying to force something out of him rather than taking their time and re-strategizing. The machine is actually doing something to your brain, and the best analogy I can think of right now is the person running the trials is almost controlling the video game with like a video game controller, and they have a software that's helping them know like what to do at what times. So you actually have to find a really talented practitioner before you just go and do neurofeedback therapy. And I've also heard other stories similar to this on Reddit, and even he points out that on Reddit you can find some pretty terrible experiences people have had with neurofeedback therapy.
It turns out I'm not the only one. I hit up Reddit and I looked, there was a CPTSD neurofeedback section. I read some posts, there was similar stories. There was one poor person who had the similar reactions to me, worsening of symptoms, and the practitioner just kept going and going.
But I do want to point out, they all tend to have something in common. All of them complain that the person running the machine in the background is not listening to their feedback, or not taking them serious, or is like continuing to force whatever their predetermined plan was. And like we talked about earlier in this video, the point of neurofeedback therapy being so cool and awesome is that it should be designed specifically for that individual. And I mean it, like they can't just take a cookie cutter recipe to fix everyone's brain. All of our brains have issues in different areas and places. And when someone goes through this procedure, they need to make sure that the practitioner is really responding to their individual brain specifically. And the other thing that a lot of these people experienced was they felt the symptoms of their brain being encouraged to work a new way. So, I mean, think about this. Your brain has been functioning a certain way. That's why you're anxious and depressed. Okay. And so then here's this machine that's actually kind of zapping you with dopamine responses or whatever in different areas and ways. So it's forcing your brain to think differently. Yes, that can be a bad experience in the short run. Like, imagine that though. Your brain is being forced to think differently, function differently, and the brain waves are being sent differently. You can only imagine how at first that's going to freak your brain out. It's going to be terrifying. I mean, it wasn't necessarily terrifying for me, but if you go read what like the professionals say, because in Reddit, there's a lot of negative comments about people saying their anxiety got worse. But you'll also notice that these really experienced people are commenting below that. They're like, the problem is they only do like 4 or 5 sessions and then they quit or give up because their anxiety and fear got worse. So what's sad is if they had gone through with the whole like 24 sessions, or sometimes people need 36 sessions, their brain could have healed and all of their symptoms could have gotten way better. And listen closely to what this guy says. His 4th session was his final session and then he stopped. And you're supposed to do 24 sessions. However, in his case, it's probably a good thing he stopped because the person performing the task for him doesn't seem like they were doing a good job.
And so I had another session, no change. I had a final session where they tried something else. So the 4th session, no change.
This isn't the kind of thing that you can just do a few times and immediately see like incredible results. It's training your brain to function differently. It's gonna be uncomfortable sometimes. For me, I had mild discomfort, but overall my symptoms were getting better and better. So I can't relate to people that had this bad experience. And I think that's just because I had a better practitioner running the tests and trials and doing the neurofeedback therapy. So in this video, I am going to recommend the people that I use to do neurofeedback therapy. I highly encourage you to check them out.
Hello, I'm Robert Beatty, the founder of Zion Healing Centers. If you're a loved one or struggling with addiction or mental illness, we believe the true path to freedom lies in a spiritual journey combined with cutting-edge medical technology. This blend has proven highly effective in addressing depression, anxiety, and substance abuse and other mental health concerns.
Because you want somebody who's good at their job when you do this. A good analogy would be if you're going to get brain surgery, do you want an inexperienced doctor or do you want someone who like knows what they're doing? Because in a way, this is somewhat of a brain surgery. I mean, it's not like touching the physical matter and fixing it. It's playing with your brain waves and trying to rebalance your brain waves. But since I'm making a video about this, and I'm definitely not an expert, I just have my own experience, I wanted to share with y'all some of the other people's negative experiences so that you can see it's not like everyone is raving about this. There are some things to be cautious about if you're gonna make the decision for yourself to go do this kind of treatment. But with that being said, let's get into the real reason why I think people are against neurofeedback therapy. And I don't think it's people that are causing all the problems. What if I told you there is a dark conspiracy against this kind of technology because it could wipe out millions of customers for a certain industry?
You take a certain medication and then you say, you know what, I'm getting a very good effect right now. But then you go back to the same cycle right here, where body gets used to it, and then you are going to another medication or they increase the dosage. It's called a placebo effect.
Big Pharma has a lot of incentives to convince the world that this therapy doesn't work. And if you think Big Pharma won't go on a crusade to defend their customer base, you're absolutely wrong. Big Pharma companies have been involved in numerous controversies for practices such as misleading marketing, off-label promotion, hidden data, and price manipulation. They are ruthless. Pfizer illegally promoted several drugs. Purdue Pharma aggressively marketed OxyContin, which contributed significantly to the opioid epidemic. They literally killed millions of people. They do not care about you. Johnson & Johnson, this company was accused by the Department of Justice for spending billions of dollars to illegally target children and the elderly for unapproved drug uses, exposing them to serious side effects. They don't care if their drugs ruin your lives, they just want you to keep buying more. GlaxoSmithKline received a $3 billion settlement in 2012, which included criminal charges for promoting the antidepressant Paxil for pediatric use. Big Pharma does not care about you at all. AstraZeneca, whatever it's called, paid $520 million to resolve allegations it illegally promoted the antipsychotic drug Seroquel for unapproved uses like insomnia and depression. And guess what? I'm one of the people that got prescribed Seroquel for insomnia, and it was a pain to get off of. But I'm off of it now. Screw you, Big Pharma. So here's a question to ask. Are these companies actually going on Reddit and putting fake posts about their drugs? Well, the answer is absolutely yes. We're finding out that all these huge industries and huge industry leaders are doing whatever it takes, lying to us to keep their customers. So why I'm suspicious of the critics of neurofeedback therapy is essentially that in the past, huge industry leaders have gone out of their way to get rid of any new science that's coming along and pointing their customers away from them. And from my experience, neurofeedback is an alternative to Big Pharma. So I don't doubt that Big Pharma will do whatever it takes to make sure you don't watch the rest of this video.
Neurofeedback doesn't involve medication, and it's non-invasive.
This is not magic. This isn't any, voodoo. This isn't anything like that. It is really just harnessing our own brain's ability to self-correct.
So, is this worth trying? It depends. Some people say it really works, some people don't. Others don't even know it exists. The key to all of it is finding the right ethical provider who can do an amazing job giving you a personalized treatment plan and then executing it in live time so that your brain can function as efficiently and healthily and happily as possible. You want to pick the right place to go if you're going to do neurofeedback therapy, which is why I would like to recommend someone that I know will do a great job.
At Zion Healing Center, we employ state-of-the-art, FDA-approved technology, neurofeedback or QEEG, to map and specifically treat damaged brain areas, effectively providing physical therapy for the brain.
So I went to this place called the Zion Healing Center up in the North Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I found out afterwards that they actually have locations all over the country, so it's not the craziest idea that you could find a Zion Healing near you. Now, I can't vouch for all of their clinical practitioners, but I can vouch for the one here, Farhan. Him and his team did a great job treating my brain delicately and giving me the right treatment I needed to have a good experience and be changed forever. Because Zion Healing did such a good job, I'm going to put links to their website and information in the description of this video. And just so you know, Zion Healing did not pay me to make this video, and they did not pay me to give them a shout out. I'm literally doing it on my own accord. Anyway, thanks for watching. And remember, if your neurons were firing off happily while watching this video, make sure to hit that like button and press subscribe. Oh, and don't forget to leave a comment. Comment below whatever you'd like to train your brain to do or stop doing. For me, I'd love to be able to train my brain to stop thinking of all the most embarrassing things that have ever happened to me at 2 a.m. in the morning when I'm trying to sleep. Oh wait, I already did neurofeedback therapy. I've already trained my brain to do that. Okay, and lastly, if you're watching this video, then you are friends with Matt.